spot so early at times because of coyotes. But the reason why I'm sitting in my tree stand on a random day is because it's the first frost. Deer need food, and I saw a monster buck on my way home yesterday. He's moving in the area, and I'm gonna try and catch him. It's like 43 degrees. I'm in here a little bit before legal shooting light. I got something moving off to my left. Might be a squirrel. But I seen him yesterday. And I'm gonna tell you, he reminds me of the big guy. He reminds me of the big guy. When I saw him yesterday out in this field. And I think it could be him. Okay. Oh, there's acorns still falling. Wind's kicked up. So, I'm gonna sit here quietly and see what happens for the next couple of hours. I'll get back to you. these does came from over here. They came back this way. They leaped out to this field, and I seen them running. The buck that I saw last night, it had to be him. Came back through here, started chasing them, and pushed them. Unfortunately, somewhere way over there, because there's no wind, I heard a doe blow way out in the middle of that field. There is a house way over there on the corner, and they do have kids, so that probably kind of spooked them. But I watched that buck come in from here and start pushing these does this way back over here by the mock scrape. The bad thing is they're leaking out before they get to me into the field. And then like way over there, man, I heard a doe blow. So I think it might be up for tonight. Unfortunately, I hear another squirrel. I hear squirrels barking way down the other end of the woods. So they probably made their way through the woods already. Tough luck. But it is what it is. So to sum this one up, I'll give you my consensus on this sit. So this is a morning and afternoon sit. So I sat there in the morning, and that's where that button buck came out. Now that button buck came off the trail. I want deer to come off that trail. That's the kill zone right there. That deer did exactly what I hope the other deer will do. But if you go back to my other videos, you always hear me saying, well, I see these deer, but they're not coming all the way down the trail, and they're leaking out to the left-hand side into the ag field. I've always been wondering why they're doing that at this point. And I figured that out after this afternoon sit, and I'll explain it here in a few. So I'm watching how these deer are moving right now, and I'm watching their attitudes towards one another. And we're really close to the beginning of the rut right at this point. A lot of chasing going on, especially from some bucks checking on does. And so it was pretty cool to see that button buck. It's cool to see that some kind of doe is birthing bucks in that area, which is fantastic. So hopefully that guy goes up and he grows and becomes the next set of deer to harvest in, the next couple of years, handful of years. So that was really interesting to see. Where I'm sitting, the whole reason why I put that tree stand there is because there's a big round oak tree right next to it. I didn't want to put the stand on that oak tree because that oak tree gives me cover. One of the hardest things to do is trick a whitetail's nose. It's just, if they smell you, they're pretty much going to get skittish, and they're going to do what they do. They're going to, the nanny does are going to blow and they're going to go. And then even the bucks, if they see you, they're going to blow and they're going to go. So you really want to control your scent. And so far, so good. But again, these are really young deer that are coming to the stand. These aren't mature bucks. So again, scent control is number one. So in this stand, I can lean back in my stand and I can look around that tree. I can look around that tree and I can see where they're going to go. And as soon as they get to that tree, they're going to have to make their decision like that button buck did. He came into that little food plot, knows there's nothing there, and then he went around and I could watch him go off that way. The doe I shot on opening day, those deer came from behind me, and then they tried to come up that there's like a little gully behind me, and they tried to come up that gully, and that's where I shot that nanny doe, is right there. So don't quite want them to do that, but I mean, hey, sometimes you get lucky. And so it's pretty cool to see that the deer are taking that path. They are coming down there, and they could go in front of the stand. It's always a plus. It's what happened to me last year, but these deer came from the left side. Now, again, the wind is in my favor when it's coming out of the north. When it's coming out of the north, it's hitting my face, and if I have scent, it's traveling in the back of me, which, again, can be good, can be bad, because, you know, the doe that I shot on opening day came from behind me. I believe if that was a really strong north wind, the gig might have been up at that point. So it's pretty cool to see how these deer are moving and how they're acting. But again, these are really young deer that are coming to this spot right now. So I have to be on my guard for my scent game. So that was pretty cool. I didn't see anything the rest of the day. Unfortunately, I waited to see, you know, maybe this guy is still hooked to a doe family. No, there was nothing else after that. He's on his own. Good luck to him. Hopefully no predators or a hunter gets him, you know, but it is what it is. So that was good to see. I came home, took a nap, got some encouragement from the family and from friends, and I did an afternoon sit. One thing I don't like to do is burn out my stand in the beginning of the year. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to alert the deer of my presence. I don't want to keep on dropping scent in that spot. I just want to be incognito right now. Just like how unfortunately, that nanny doe found out that there's somebody waiting for you in a tree. You know, I want that kind of, you know, capability, you know, the element of surprise. So sitting there in the afternoon, I got there around 3:30, and, you know, a lot of people get mad at the squirrels, but sometimes I rely on the squirrels. If you've never gone squirrel hunting, or you don't understand the squirrel scenario, is if something comes in a squirrel's area, they'll run up a tree and then they'll start barking. They'll start screeching and carrying on. And that's something that really helps me back in this spot, is when squirrels start doing that and they don't notice me, that means there's something there. There's something that's moving ground-wise, whether it's a coyote, another squirrel, another raccoon, doesn't matter, because I saw this guy come blazing out of this other set of woods, and I don't know, 20 feet off to my left, I seen him go up the tree. So I knew there's something coming through there. So I grabbed my crossbow, and, you know, if they're coming down that trail, you know, I'm going to be ready for them. So that's a great indicator, believe it or not. If you go back to my other videos, I've always been referencing some deer aren't taking that full, you know, trot down that path, and they're leaking out to the left into the field. And I've been wondering that, and we're about to get to that point I'm talking about. So that squirrel's chirping, and I'm waiting. You know, I'm kind of peeking around that big oak tree, you know what I'm saying? You know, looking off to the left of me, but also looking to the right and looking. And I seen does come out. Quite a few does. I mean, it was a whole doe family. I counted. The ones I could see that came out off the other edge there, off that left-hand side where they leaked out, at least 8 does. At least 8. And that's a lot. And I'm like, oh, man. You know, and some of them were really big does. I watched them move around, as you can see in those. Maybe I'll throw a picture up here, or I did it in that video. Right now, there's a lot of foliage on the tree. Foliage, whatever. There's a lot of leaves on the tree. So there's only like little gaps where I can kind of duck and look through there to see, you know, if it's a buck, if it's a doe, you know, what kind of animals moving in there. So it's really hard until the winter comes and the leaves drop. I'm not going to have full sight of that field. It's just going to be hard. I'm just going to have little holes there, and that's how you can see that deer. Just, you know, I can tell, you know, there's a deer there, but it's really hard to tell how big it is. You know, if it's a buck, how big the buck is. You know, if it's a buck that I'm going to shoot, or something I'm going to let go for another year. So it's real hard seeing in the trees right now. So I see these does come out, and, you know, I'm getting excited. I'm looking, and I'm like, oh man, you know, hopefully they'll come back my way. but it didn't quite happen. And then they started to get kind of antsy, and and there was no wind at all. And I'm like, man, that's not me. It can't be me. There's no wind unless I've left scent somewhere, but I'm not allowed to be over there. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe, when they were rolling hay, they got some scent of humans there. There is a house way down on the corner. There could be people outside. I know those people, have kids. Maybe, a car went by and kind of spooked them, because that's another indicator that I have. There's a road in front of that field, and sometimes I can catch a glimpse of a car, and if the car is rolling real slow, I know that there's deer. There's people probably taking pictures, irritating the deer. So they get kind of, jumpy. Well, as I heard the squirrel again, and, there's another one in another tree barking. Well, here he comes. Here comes a buck coming out of there, and I knew it was a buck, just by the reaction of the does. And in that little gap, he bent down where that doe went to the bathroom. He put his nose right in there, and I looked down. And I said, "Oh, that's a shooter buck. This is either an 8 or 9 point deer. And it's a decent deer from what I seen." So I'm like, "Oh, this is good. This is a good sign." So I'm watching him herd these does. He's pushing does at this point. Wherever he wants these does to kind of be, he's trying to push them there. They're not being so cooperative. And then I noticed the hay bales. And there's a lot more than there were the other day, the last days that I was there. So I kind of see these does. They're getting kind of flustered. They're running down. I know they're running the length of that wood line, and then I can hear them blowing. And I'm like, it's not me. So, I'm watching him do his thing. And finally, he walks off, into a different section of the field. And I notice some other does come back. So it's not me, it's him. He's harassing does. So I watch these deer kind of, walk up this side of the woods. And, I make sure that they're not coming towards me. At this point, I've only got like 10 minutes, 15 minutes of shooting light. So I'm like, I'm out of here. It's not going to be enough time. It's just not going to be enough time to set these deer up. So I hurry up, lower my bow, get down the tree stand as quiet as possible, grab my stuff, and I go. No dilly-dallying around there, no messing with the mock scrape. I'm just out of here. So the advantage I have is I can get to this road from where I'm hunting. So I get to the car, throw all my stuff in there, and I drive down this road. Well, to give you the landscape of this field that you're looking at all the time is, the front of it is flat. The front of it is flat. And then as you creep towards that wood line, where I'm sitting way in the back of, there's a hill that pops up, and then it goes down into like almost a gully type of situation. So the corner of that field is like an L. What I noticed there is why those does are running back and forth. In that L, they had lined hay bales all the way from this corner portion of the field down to the edge and then back out further. Because I heard some other, squirrels on the other end of that woods chirping. So the bad thing is they're leaking out off that left side of that trail because they can't come down the trail that I'm on and just, hook it and take that left to get down into this corner of this ag field because there's hay bales everywhere. So they can't get down there. So I noticed that when I was driving by, and there he is on top of the hill. I see him as clear as day, and he's a shooter buck. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, catch you on the next one because there's nothing I can do. And then, he kind of backs up and then he goes chasing after his does. So what he was doing, he's pushing those does way further down there, and those does can't get into the section of woods I'm in because of all the hay bales are lined up hopefully, you know, animals get hungry or somebody buys some hay bales, because that's a really big hindrance, because usually that's an open space on that L, and they can travel right through there. And plus I've made paths through there. Plus I've cut a couple of trees on the property I'm allowed to hunt to give them an area. Deer will take the easiest path. They're not going to walk through a bunch of thorn bushes. If there's an open path, they're going to take that path all day long. They're just that kind of animal. But if they can't get through there, they're going to either make a way or they're going to find a different way. And that's why they've all been leaking out to that left side on the far end of that woods, because they can get through there. There's no hay bales blocking that way there. So they've probably been making that trail since they've been lining those hay bales up. There's nothing I can do there. So it's really put me in a spot whether I want to sit there or not. Yeah, I could get a crack at one of them, but if they're going to continue to just come halfway down that trail and go to the left side, I'm going to be sitting there watching deer all day. I'm not going to be shooting deer. I'm not going to be gutting deer, and I'm not going to be drinking beer while I'm doing, you know, gutting the deer. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to be really, you know, spotty on what I'm picking. I'm really going to play the cold fronts. There's another little cold front coming through tomorrow, but the afternoon sit where I want to sit, it's supposed to rain. And they said light rain a couple days ago, but it rained for a good, I don't know, hour and a half. And I don't want to sit in that rain. I just really don't. It's flu season, folks, and I don't want to get sick sitting in a tree stand, so on and so forth. If I'm sick, it's going to be hard to go hunting. So I'm going to wait for the next cold front. There's another one coming in over the weekend, and I think I might sit then. You know, and I might just lay off this spot. Again, I do not want to burn this stand out, and I want to see what the farmers are going to do with these hay bales. Maybe they sell a couple and they start shifting that stuff, because that would really open up the time. That would really open up the time and to give them spots in and out. You can see over the summer where they've made spots, like holes in that tree line where they've been coming through. I crept around this other end of that property I'm hunting, and I can look down into this little valley. It's really hilly on that side of the field, and I can see the holes that they have made where they've been traveling through all summer. So until that opens up, I think these older deer, you know, they're not young. They're not going to try and push through a bunch of brush. They're going to just take those easy paths to get to that field so they can feed on whatever the hay is. We're starting to get frost in some areas. And once that hay and the alfalfa, all that stuff goes dormant and it stops growing, that's going to cut off access to food. And there's a lot of stuff back in those woods. Acorns. I mean, I'm right next to an oak tree. There's still a smidgen of the second plot left. There's a lot of berries back in there that the birds haven't picked off, and the squirrels. You know, in the morning I watched a lot of squirrels take acorns and go. So there's a lot of food still back in there that they can get to, that they can feed on when these fields kind of go dormant. There's a lot of acorns, a lot of things still back there. So eventually they'll have to come back there. But, you know, at this point, I believe they're still going to come down that path and leak out to the left. That's just the way that they're going right now. And with this buck harassing these does are trying to get away from this guy for right now, because they're just not ready. I know the does are not in heat right now. It's simple as day. If they were, they'd probably be a little bit receptive. But these does were not. They were just running away from them. Plus they were blowing, kind of alerting other deer. And, you know, again, I hear the squirrels way down on the other section of those woods. Man, I wish I could hunt those because there's some pretty big gaps. When you drive down that road in front of that field, you can see some pretty big gaps that are way further down that field that I know that they're just going to go down that gap. One day I'm gonna talk to the people that own that property to see if I can stick a stand or a climber or something in that section, because as long as those hay bales are in that L shape, they're just gonna keep on moving down there until they find an open spot to get into the woods. And unfortunately, they're gonna get into the woods that I'm not allowed to hunt. So I'm gonna catch 22. I gotta see what the deer are gonna do, and I kind of got a good consensus. Now I gotta see what the farmers are gonna do and get a good consensus of that. So that pretty much sums up that day. So as I, one more thing, and I'm going to make a video about this, because I think this is what changes the game for me for hunting big game. Is, you know, shooting birds is shooting birds, whether it be doves, ducks, geese. You know, with whitetail, sometimes you only get one crack at a deer, you know, especially if it's a real mature buck. You know, you spook it, you make it uncomfortable. It's not going to come back for a while. May not come back at all. You never know. And I think that's one of the challenges that I really like. And I'm going to make a video about this guy, because I saw him yesterday. I haven't, from the bucks that I've gotten on camera, from the buck that I seen trying to herd up these does, it's not him. When I got out of there, I drove down the road, I saw the big guy. I saw him. He was way down in the corner of this other field. And again, there's a couple of this deer that I was watching. It's a shooter buck. The big guy is somebody I've been after for the last few years. And there's a reason why nobody shot this deer yet, because he's not dumb. Even driving through there, I caught him off the corner of my eye. And unfortunately, it's a curvy road, so I don't want to stop or be standing there, because, you know, in a car, because somebody could come around that corner and hit you. But I caught him out the corner of my eye, did slow down a little bit and saw him. This is a big deer. It wasn't a big nanny doe either. This was a big deer. And he's kind of pushing a couple of other does that were in that field on the corner of this lot. Cindy's family is a farming family. They've been farming for generations. They used to own property here and there in this area. I'm hoping to get in contact with these people. My belief is these bucks are bedding way past this other field. That is their bedding area. And these doe are bedding where I'm at, and they're bedding across the way there, and they're bedding in this other set of woods. So these bucks are coming out. They're going through this first field here, and they're checking their does. They're checking does to see if they're hot or not. And they're not doing it right now, so they're kind of pushing them. They're kind of pushing them, go back to their bedding spot, and then they're coming back out. And these are bucks in the daylight. These bucks are not nocturnal, so the hunting pressure is low. And that's why I wanted to get out of my stand. That's why I didn't want to make noise. I don't want to give them a consensus of what's going on. So at this point, I want to let these bucks get further down the road. And if I get this guy further down the road, I might get him this year. And I always have that hope. And I'll throw a picture of him. And, you know, again, I've been tracking this deer for a while. So we only have to wait and see if he's going to stay around that area. If he's going to push this other buck. He's way bigger. This deer was way bigger than the other buck that I watched push does in front of the stand. Way bigger than that. And again, I've seen a couple of decent sized deer there here in the summertime and in the spring. And this deer the other night, he's a good size. This deer, he's one that you can really express your anguish. And I'm going to make a video about him. I've been tracking this deer for a while. And if I can lay hands on him, it's going to be probably one of the biggest accomplishments of my hunting life. You know, and some people might not think so, yada, yada, yada. But I'm going to tell you right now, it'll be a big accomplishment. I've had one encounter with that deer and never saw him for the rest of the year. So that was my consensus of the day. You know, I see where these deer are at in their cycle. So hopefully in the next few weeks, as we get really further and further and we get into the rut, usually the rut's the end of October and the beginning of November, where my area is, this is when does are really going to start coming in heat. These guys start to mess up. These guys really start to make mistakes, and that's what I'm hoping. This buck, if he would have came in there, I would have spent a tag on him if he came in there. But unfortunately, this is the first time I ever pulled out the grunter, and I even tried to grunt at him a little bit. He didn't look up. He was just chasing does, man. Pretty hard to get the dudes off the ladies, you know. So I don't know. That's my consensus for the hunt. It was pretty cool. in the morning to see, deer still trying to travel down that path, and they are going into the shooting zone. But it really depends on a lot of different situations here. So hopefully that explains the video. It was a great time, and we'll see what the next little set of the next month or two holds for us. I'd like to thank all my old and my new subscribers and the people that just watch these videos. I greatly do appreciate it. To my new subscribers, thank you for being part of the channel. I do greatly appreciate it. Please use my community tab. It's there. That way we can have even more interaction than just a video and comments. We can really go back and forth because I really track my community tab pretty well. So with all that being said, like always, guys, we'll catch you on the next one.